Welcome to Tangi's Tapestry, where spirituality, law, motherhood, and relationships weave into a rich and meaningful discussion. I'm your host, Tangi, a mother, daughter, sister, friend, and an avid entrepreneur. Join me as I share my personal journey, explore faith based discussions, and offer valuable legal insights. Each episode is designed to inspire, empower, and connect with individuals on their unique path. So let's dive into today's topic and embark on this journey together. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Tangi's Tapestry. I'm your host, Tangi, and we are in episode number 3. I'm so excited that you guys are tuning in and that you are staying the course with me. I think I told y'all before, podcasting is new to me, so I am doing my best to stay on top of it and keep at it. So I am excited. Um, in this episode, I am shifting gears because um the last few episodes I discussed about pivoting and how pivoting in our personal and professional lives can create growth and transformation, but now I'm kind of taking a little pivot and a detour, and I'm going into the discussion of estate planning because it is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. And I think that it's such a um what's the word I'm looking for? It's not it's not discussed as much as I think it should be. So it's a little bit of a neglected topic, especially in the Black and Brown communities. And I think that education is key. And so, what better way to help my people by giving you guys a little bit of information on estate planning, and not just my people but anybody really. But I do think that it's a topic that isn't discussed enough in certain communities of color, and I wanted to just kind of go over just a few things about estate planning. Nothing in the deep end right now because I just want to kind of keep it light. And I do want to give a little bit of a disclaimer that I am a licensed attorney in Maryland and DC. And so the information that I share in this episode is for general informational purposes only. You should not consider this to be any type of legal advice. And if you do require specific legal advice about your individual estate planning situation, I would advise you to consult with a licensed attorney in your jurisdiction. But let's go ahead and dive right into today's topic, which is why estate planning matters for everyone. And I think to set the tone, like I did at the last episode, let's start with a scripture that I think emphasizes the importance of planning. And I have my Bible with me. I'm reading from the New Living Translation. And Proverbs 13:22 is the scripture that I'm going to be reading. It reads as, good people leave an inheritance to their grandchildren, but the sinner's wealth passes to the godly. And so I love that first part of the scripture that says good people leave an inheritance to their grandchildren. Some translations read that a good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children. Um, but I think that that scripture is it reminds us of the significance of preparing for the future and the legacy that we leave behind. And so it doesn't say that a wealthy person leaves an inheritance for their children. It doesn't say that someone who has a lot of assets leaves an inheritance for their children. It says a good person. And I'd like to think that we are all good people. Um, and that we should want to leave an inheritance for our children and their children. Um, and so I think that that scripture is definitely sets the tone for what I want to talk about today. And so the importance of estate planning is a crucial topic because I think it allows for you to be able to control what happens to your assets. And not only that, but who can make decisions on your behalf in case you're unable to do so. So, I know a lot of times that people think that estate planning is, you know, what happens to you when you die? Like, where is all my stuff going to go? They think about a will, and that's really not all of estate planning. There are so many different tools that you can put into an estate plan that deals with what happens to you, yes, when you pass away, but also what happens to you while you're alive. Because there are certain things that happen to us that makes it to where we might need to have something in place in the event that we can't make decisions for ourselves anymore and you're still alive. So without an estate plan, your loved ones, they can face legal complications and disputes. And it's already a very difficult time when, something happens, like if you get super sick with a terminal illness or something, or you pass away. We all have had these instances, or we know somebody who's had issues where the family just falls apart. Everybody's fighting and bickering, and nobody knows what to do. And people are scrambling, trying to figure out how to pay for this and pay for that because there was no proper planning in place prior to the incident that evolved. So, and there's a lot of people that don't have wills. I mean, I went down to well, I didn't really go anywhere, but I was at my computer and I was looking through the registry of decedents, people who have passed away, and you can just see all the people who pass away and they die in what's called intestate. They die without a will. And it's baffling to me because I'm pretty sure these people have stuff. There's people who pass away that have young children, and to just not have a any kind of proper estate planning definitely leads to significant stress and uncertainty for the people that you leave behind. So estate planning, I say this often, is not just for the wealthy. I recently had a client who said to me, "Well, I don't really have a lot of stuff, so I don't really know if I need, estate planning." But I'm like, "Well, do you have children? Do you have a business?" I mean, you, and they think that because they don't have a lot of money, they don't need estate planning. But that's just not the case. It isn't just for the wealthy. It's really for everyone. Estate planning, let me say this again, is for everyone. All adults, once you hit 18, you should start thinking about estate planning, especially if you have minor children, if you have any type of assets, if you own a business, and we're going to go into that. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but I'm very passionate about this, about estate planning. And I think a lot of it stems from what my grandmother instilled in me because she was a woman who had an estate plan, but her estate planning, she did a great job all the way up until she passed, and then the estate plan fell to the wayside. And that's another topic for another time. And I'm gonna go into that but for right now, let me stay focused because I can go on and on about some of the horror stories of estate planning. But so anyways, um who should have So I already kind of explained why it's important to have estate planning. It reduces stress on your family. It keeps things organized. It lets people know your wishes while you're alive and beyond the grave. But who is estate planning for? Is another question you want to ask yourself. A lot of people are like, should I do estate planning? Yes, you should. If you are someone who has minor children, because what estate planning does for someone who has minor children is it ensures your children are cared for by the guardians that you choose, and they also receive your assets in a way that you see fit. So if there's certain property or something that you want those minor children to have and you want someone to oversee that property, you can identify that person in an estate plan. Also, if you're a single parent like myself, and let's say the other parent is absent, they're not in the picture, you would want to make sure that you appoint a guardian to uh, oversee and take care of the minor children that you have, especially if the other parent is not active and not participating in that child's life. So those are some things to consider about if you should have an estate plan if you have minor children. Are you a small business owner? Estate planning can help you to protect your business and ensure that it continues to operate in the event that you not only just pass away, but maybe you become incapacitated. You're unable to, you became really sick and you're not able to operate your business. Do you have someone in place that can fill in your shoes and take over while you're not able to do so? And without a plan, your business could face significant disruption. It could stop the whole operation if you don't have certain things in place for your business. Or are you just anyone with assets? From real estate to personal belongings, having a plan helps you distribute your assets according to your wishes. So, there are times where people fight over the silliest things. They fight over who's going to get, mom's photo albums, who's going to get her clothes and all of these things, right? People start to fight over the littlest things. But if you have this written out in a plan, then your family doesn't have to fight over it because they already know where you wanted your stuff to go. Um, and this includes, everything from your home to investments to family heirlooms, things that are passed down from generation to generation. Like you just want to make sure that you have something in place that covers those things. And that's for, anybody. So again, you don't have to have a ton of assets. You don't have to be wealthy. You could be, when COVID hit, a lot of people started opening up businesses. So you might have a LLC out there, and you want your business to continue on. You maybe want your kids or someone to, continue to carry on the family business, but you don't have a plan in place. You don't have any kind of estate planning in place for that business to keep going. So those are just some things to consider about who should have estate planning put into place. And that's everybody. Okay. Um, and then briefly, let's talk about what tools are available to you in estate planning. Now, I'm not going to go through an exhaustive list of all of the different estate planning tools because there's a lot of different tools in place, and every state has different things that they call them. So, I'm going to go over just a couple of the more common estate planning tools, and I think I'll do some more episodes on different topics of estate planning. But for now, I'm just kind of keeping it a little light because, again, I know that a lot of people they shy away from estate planning for some odd reason or another. They don't want to talk about it. But let's talk about it today. Okay, so wills. We all know what a will is, or we should, or well, I shouldn't say we should, but most of us know what a will is. Um, but some people don't know what a will can do for you. And basically, it just outlines how you want your assets to distribute it after death. And you're able to designate, like I mentioned earlier, if you had children, you can designate guardians over your minor children. And it's just a foundational document in an estate plan. It's probably one of the more key tools that's used in estate planning. And then you have your living trust. Now, I know a lot of people, um, you know, they think they don't need a living trust because they don't have stuff to put in there. But you'd be surprised what a living trust can do. And it isn't just for wealthy people. Um, a living trust can help you to one, avoid probate. So if you have assets during your lifetime, you can put them in there, and it keeps you from going through probate, which is a term used to where you have to, when you pass away, you have to file something through with the court in order to um, distribute all of your assets throughout your estate. So um, some people don't want to go through the whole court process, and it's costly, it's time consuming. So having a living trust can help you to avoid that whole process. um, and this can be really helpful if you have a larger estate. So, they are a little bit more complicated and complex. So, you definitely want to sit down and talk with a professional about whether or not you even need a living trust. And sometimes you don't need that. Sometimes a will get you what you need to have your wishes met. So, that's another estate planning tool. And I think I'll do some more episodes about those in particular, like living trust and because I think the living trust is one that's not talked about as much as the will. Um, and so you also have your healthcare and your financial power of attorneys. These documents, they allow you to appoint someone to make healthcare or financial decisions on your behalf if you become incapacitated. And these are really essential to have when you can find someone who you trust to step in when it's needed. And I'll share with you a story that um made me even more like just perplexed about how things can go wrong when you don't have these documents in place. So I was volunteering at a family law clinic, and an elderly lady, she had come to the clinic and she was very distraught. She was just all over the place, just a mess, very frazzled. And she had explained that her husband had just got really, really sick and became unresponsive and was taken to the hospital, I think by the husband's sister had brought him to the hospital. And the sister and the wife don't have a really good relationship, but they had been, the husband and the wife been married for many, many years. But the sister and the wife didn't have a really good relationship. But the sister brought the husband to the hospital, and they were able to get a response from him that the sister could basically oversee his health care needs and make decisions. Mind you, he's been married to his wife for many years. And when she got to the hospital, she was trying to get information. She was trying to tell the doctors what they should do and all this stuff. And they were not listening to nothing she had to say because one, she didn't have any type of power of attorney. And two, he had verbally given them some kind of consent or whatever to allow the sister to make the decisions. Now, to me, I'm thinking like this is his wife of like 30 plus years or so. Why would she not be allowed to make decisions on his behalf? But once he had given that kind of consent to the doctors for the sister, it was out of her hands. So now she's at the courthouse trying to get some type of guardianship over him. um she's having to file all these things. She's got to go through and get the doctors to sign off on all this stuff. She has to go to court and fight with the sister and any other interested parties that might have an interest in his health care. I mean, it was just a hot mess. But I'm thinking to myself, like, had this woman had oh, and she had asked, well, can't we get can I do a power of attorney over him? And I'm like, it doesn't work that way. He's the one that has to do the power of attorney. You can't do a power of attorney on his behalf. He would have had to have put that in place before he became incapacitated. And so the poor lady's crying and everything. And I felt so bad, but it resonated with me as that this is why you need to make sure you have proper planning in place before it gets to that point, before you become incapacitated, before you become sick and you can't make decisions for yourself. You should have these documents in place now while you're in your right mind, while you're healthy, not on your deathbed, and it just and then, I thought to myself, like, hopefully she's on his bank accounts, is joint, and this and on the sister can't go and empty it. Because that was another concern. She was like, I hope, I don't want his sister to be able to go and empty out his bank accounts and all of this stuff. And I was asking her, like, well, are you guys joint owners on the bank accounts? Did he have a financial power of attorney in place? And of course he didn't. And so, again, it's really important that you put these documents into place now while you can before it's too late and you're not able to. And then you have family members fighting over who gets to make the decisions, or you're a wife or a husband and you don't get to make any decisions over your spouse because another relative steps in and is able to do so. So get yourself a power of attorney, if all, at least get that, and then the advanced medical directive, that's what they call it here in Maryland. It's just like another name for that is a living will. And basically, that form allows you to provide instructions for how you want your medical care to be if you're unable to communicate your wishes. So, like if you become in a vegetative state, like do you want to continue to stay that way? Do you want to do not resuscitate order? What do you want to happen with your organs? What kind of burial instructions you want to have? I mean, those are some things that you would put into your living will. And again, I can go through these in a little bit more detail in later episodes. But I think those documents there are the more essential, more common estate planning documents that you at least want to have those, right? Like if you don't have anything else, at least get you some of those documents, okay? And so how do you get started with estate planning? Well, you know, um, I think for the most part, some people feel completely overwhelmed with estate planning. They think like they have to do all of these things all at one time. But here's a few little steps that I would just say would help you to begin the process of estate planning. Um, the first thing you probably want to do is just take inventory of all of the things that you have. Get a sheet of paper, type it up, whatever works for you, but list out all the assets you have, any real estate, bank accounts, investments, all of the personal property that you have, and just take inventory. Start figuring out what you have, who owns it, make sure you own it. Is it jointly owned with someone else? Just get an inventory, a snapshot of everything you have. Okay. And then you want to define your goals. You want to consider what you want to achieve with your estate plan. So, like, who do you want to inherit your assets? So, all of that inventory that you take, start writing out who you want to give that kinds of stuff to. Um, and then also, who do you want to make decisions on your behalf if you became incapacitated? Because, again, like I mentioned, estate planning is not just about when you pass away, but it's about when you're living and something happens to you and you're not able to, like, let's say I get in a car accident And, I'm still able to make decisions for myself, but I can't get to the bank and go and pull money out and pay my bills and do all of these things, but I need someone to go do that for me. Well, a financial power of attorney might come into place, um, to be able to help, and again, you have to make sure that you're picking people that you trust. But again, you want to define all of your goals, who you want to make those type of decisions on your behalf, whether it's financial, health, care decisions. Just make sure you trust the people that you're um, choosing to make these decisions for you. Okay, because you don't want to pick the wrong person and they go and empty out your bank account or something. So you want to make sure you pick trustworthy people. And then the last step, after you've done your inventory and you've defined your goals, link up with a professional. You want to seek advice from an estate planning attorney, someone who can help you, create a comprehensive plan that's tailored to all of your needs. So I know there's a lot of cookie cutter forms online that you can use, but those forms aren't going to tell you the tax implications on things. They're not going to tell you the legal ramifications of what might go wrong or what could happen if you use this form versus this form. It's not going to tell you whether or not you need to have a will or um, a living trust and what to put in it. So definitely link up with a professional estate planning attorney who can guide you and give you some legal advice about how to create your estate planning plan. Okay. And then remember, it's never too early to start planning. And well, I would say it's never too late, but it could be too late if you're dang near on your deathbed and you're not in your right mind. But it's never too early to start planning. I mean, I have a 25-year-old daughter, and she just graduated vet school, and she's now getting ready to do her intern or I guess it's like an intern, like residency, um, you know, at a hospital and everything. And she's got all these paperwork, and she's coming to me and she's asking me about like estate planning stuff and life insurance. And I love that. I love that she's young and she's asking about these things. She doesn't have any children or anything like that. But she does understand the importance of making sure she has, if something goes wrong, who's going to make decisions for her. And she's asking me about all of these things. And I love that she's taken that initiative early on. Um, and so, and I think, when you start early, um, it's a process that can bring you, peace of mind, and it also is so beneficial for your loved ones. Because again, I don't know how many times I've heard from or I've been a part of chaotic family mess when people pass away or get sick, and people are just scrambling and fighting and doing GoFundMe's and all of these things because there was no proper planning. There was no will put in place. There was no power of attorneys put in place. No one's getting life insurance. I mean, people spend tons of money on all kinds of frivolous things that they don't need, but they don't secure anything to replace their income when they pass away, for their family. And so it's just, you really have to take into account what your goals are and what you want to leave behind when you leave this earth. Like I said, estate planning is essential for everyone. It is not just for the wealthy. So please get that out of your mind. It's going to provide you with peace of mind. It's going to allow your wishes to be honored, whether you're alive or you're, and you're incapacitated, or whether you have passed on. You can still be speaking from the grave through these plans, right? And it protects your loved ones your loved ones from unnecessary stress, from legal complications. And remember what that that Bible passage that I read to you in Proverbs 13:22 said, that it's a good person. Okay, a good person. Don't you want to be a good person and leave an inheritance for your children's children, for your grandchildren? So, I encourage you to start your estate planning journey today. And please share your thoughts and your questions with me on, my social media platforms. And, definitely don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. Share this message with, your friends, your family. Because again, I think that estate planning is such a, um, it's such a disregarded topic. Like, we're not talking about it enough. And really, you should want to um, plan for your future, plan for your legacy, leave something behind for your loved ones. Don't leave them with a mess and stress and dysfunction. We're in 2024. Let's do better. Let's get better. Let's talk about these things. Let's get deep down into it. Um, I'm going to think about the next topic. If you have any ideas or something you want me to talk about with estate planning, please reach out, let me know. Um, and then, in our next episode, we're going to continue this discussion on planning for the future with more insights and practical advice. So, as always, I thank you for tuning in. And remember, you know, um, estate planning is for everyone, not just the wealthy people. Um, and I look forward to, speaking with you guys again. And I hope you guys have a blessed week. And until then, next time on the next time we meet, we're going to dive back into a much more in-depth discussion on estate planning. So take care and be blessed. Thank you for joining me on this journey through Tangi's Tapestry. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Remember, new episodes drop every second and fourth Monday, so be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more heartfelt discussions, personal stories, and valuable legal insight. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with your family, friends, and followers. Your support means the world to me as I strive to create meaningful content that inspires and empowers. Well, until next time, take care and remember to weave your own unique story into the tapestry of life. See you on the next episode of Tangi's Tapestry.